Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Cult Movie Tuesdays right here on Night Owl Video. Thank you for joining me again this week, and today on the channel we are talking about Re-Animator, the all-time cult classic. So I hope you will stick around and hear my thoughts on this film. I will tell you a bit about the cast, production, critical response, my thoughts on the film, where you can watch it, and all of that stuff. So be sure to stick around till the end. I will try to keep it short and sweet. And then later in the week, I am reviewing this film, Overlord, on Fright Friday, which is not really a full-on horror movie. It is listed as a horror/war film. So I did watch this recently, and I've seen this a few times. Really liked it, so I thought I would save that for Friday, for Fright Friday film review. That's coming this Friday. So yeah, today we are talking about Re-Animator. This is a horror. This is a lot of things. This is a horror, sci-fi, comedy, black comedy from 1985, directed by Stuart Gordon, who also did one of my other favorites from the 80s, From Beyond, as well as Dolls, which I haven't seen that since I was a teenager. I do remember my sister and I rented Dolls one weekend, and I feel like both of us were really creeped out by that movie, but I have not seen it again since, so I don't know if it still holds up or not. What I do know is this film still holds up, and the cool thing about this is I had seen this back when I was a teenager. Like, I rented it from the video store, and then I hadn't seen it for like 25, 30 years. I found it on streaming up a couple years ago when I got my smart TV, and I rewatched it, and of course I loved it all over again. And then just recently I picked up this Blu-ray, and I just really happy to add this to my collection. One of my favorites, and I feel like now that I own it, I'll probably watch it like repeated viewings. So this film stars, of course, Jeffrey Combs, who's right here. He was also in From Beyond, which I just mentioned, as well as the two sequels to this movie, Bride of Re-Animator and Beyond Re-Animator. I've never seen those ones. I do own Beyond Re-Animator, which I believe is a made-for-TV movie. If I'm not mistaken, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Bride of Re-Animator I have not seen yet, and I haven't found it out in the wild, so that will be on my wish list going forward. This also stars I thought, the amazing Bruce Abbott, who was also in Bride of Re-Animator as well as Prophecy 2, which, is that the one that Glenn Danzig was in? Prophecy 2? I've never seen that movie. I saw the clip of Danzig on YouTube. I think that's that one. But Bruce Abbott's a really good actor, and especially in this one, he really kind of steals. I mean, no, he doesn't really steal the show because that's Jeffrey Combs, but I mean, he does a pretty good job of keeping up with Jeffrey Combs. Speaking of that, this also stars David Gale, who was in an episode of Tales from the Dark Side, as well as Bride of Re-Animator. He was also in a lot of soap operas. This is the is it on here? Oh yeah. So the head that's right there, that's David Gale. He was the big, tall, kind of really like, he was a professor, a really tall and kind of imposing. And I did watch the making of on this Blu-ray, and Jeffrey Combs really praised David Gale and said like he really like felt like he kept up with Jeffrey Combs when they were doing this film, as far as like on-screen presence and like being able to stand up to Jeffrey Combs' character. Because Jeffrey Combs, if you've seen this film, Jeffrey Combs is a pretty larger-than-life personality on here. David Gale unfortunately passed away at a fairly young age. I think he was only in his 50s from complications due to an open-heart surgery. So rest in peace, David Gale. I'm sure he would have gone on to do lots of really cool things, but he's amazing in this film. So, and now that I know he's in Bride of Re-Animator, I really want to see that. I did see you can watch it on Tubi or one of those streaming services, so I may end up just watching it streaming for now until I can find a physical copy. This also stars Barbara Crampton, who was also in Chopping Mall, as well as a couple of the Puppet Master movies, as well as, once again, a whole bunch of soap operas. And yeah, she's awesome in this movie too. So the synopsis is short and sweet on this. After an odd new medical student arrives on campus, a dedicated local and his girlfriend become involved in bizarre experiments centering around the reanimation of dead tissue, including dead cats, or a dead cat, I should say. Which, if you've seen this movie, you know that that's probably one of the most famous scenes in this, along with one other scene, which we may talk about later in this review. But I don't want to spoil it for you if you've never seen it, because I do feel like this is a must-watch for horror fans, for 80s cult film fans. This is a must-watch. So, yeah. There is a scene with a reanimated cat, which is really, really funny. I'll touch on that in a minute, because I'm gonna mention also there's a really great documentary on here that I watched, which is over an hour long, and it was really, really, really well done, which was ported over from the Anchor Bay DVD edition. I assume, because it said Anchor Bay at the beginning. So originally devised by Gordon for this film, Stuart Gordon, that is, the director, as a theatrical stage production, and then they switched it to maybe it would be a series of half-hour television shows, and then eventually the television script was turned into a feature film. So originally with the Re-Animator, which is an H.P. Lovecraft story, or a series of stories maybe, they wanted to, they did actually approach PBS, of all people, about doing a series of half-hour episodes, and because they thought maybe it was like H.P. Lovecraft, that PBS would think this would be like classy, and that they might buy into it, but PBS said absolutely not. They were not interested at all. So it eventually, they worked a bunch of H.P. Lovecraft stories into this one film for the script. It was filmed in Hollywood. The film originally was released without a rating from the MPAA, that's the Motion Picture Association of America, and it was later edited to obtain an R rating. Though my understanding is pretty much all of the releases that went to physical media were the unrated versions. I don't know where the rated version went. Maybe that was to like TV or cable. But they had to chop out so much to get an R rating that's why they decided to just let it go as unrated. Let's see here. It garnered its largest audience through the unrated cuts release on home video, which I just mentioned. Producer Brian Yuzna described the film as having the, quote, sort of shock sensibility of an Evil Dead with the production values of, hopefully, The Howling, unquote. And I definitely, when I was watching this, definitely got some, by the way, this is an extremely gory movie, especially for its time. But it definitely, when I was watching it, I thought, oh, they must have been fans of the Evil Dead, early Evil Dead films, because you definitely got that vibe. John Nolan worked on the film's gruesome makeup effects using what he described as, quote, disgusting shots brought out from the Cook County morgue of all kinds of different lividities and different corpses, unquote. So in the documentary, they did say that they took the cast, or maybe just just the cast, I think, to an actual morgue to see what it was like and to kind of experience that and be around dead bodies. And I think it was David Gale that said like it was an incredible experience. Definitely one of the cast was like really blown away by that experience and said it was like a really heavy but really powerful, like cool experience. So that's the lengths they went to make this movie. The morgue set was based on the aforementioned Cook County morgue, which was newly built and featured cutting-edge technology. Gordon opted for this look since he felt old morgues had been overdone in previous horror movies, so I could kind of see that. Nolan and Gordon also use a book of forensic pathology in order to present how a corpse looks once the blood settles in the body, creating a variety of odd skin tones. And there is a part in here, and I really noticed it on the Blu-ray because it's high definition, which I don't think I noticed before, but they do reanimate a corpse in the morgue at one point, and he's running around naked, and the skin color was like this weird reddish pink, and I was watching it and I thought to myself, I wonder why they chose that, but I guess that's maybe what the body looks like after it's deceased. I don't know, but they did have a lot of interesting tones and color palettes for the corpses and things like that. So interesting. I mean, clearly these people put some care into making sure that, you know, as far-fetched as this movie is in parts, they did use a lot of scientific stuff to kind of present it, which I think really helps the film. Nolan said that Re-Animator was the bloodiest film he had ever worked on in the past. He had never used more than a couple of gallons of blood on a film, but on Re-Animator he used 12 times as much as he normally did. So, and they do say that in the documentary, like they just kept bringing in buckets and buckets of blood, and so this, if you're squeamish or you don't like the sight of blood, this will not be for you. Just warning you now. Principal photography began on November 28th, 1984 with a 6-week shooting schedule, though Stuart Gordon has boasted that they finished shooting the film in just 4 weeks. So somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks. The serum that you see in the syringe, which like is very glowing, is a substance called luminol, which is what they use in those, you know, you break those sticks and they glow in the dark. It's that stuff. And they said it's not, like, to not fool around with that stuff. It's very toxic. But they did use quite a bit in the film, and it really pops on the screen too, especially in this the high definition. You really like see that color. It is really cool. I think it really makes for a cool effect as far as that goes. The score for the film was composed by Richard Band, and it has been noted for its similarities to Bernard Herrmann's score for Alfred Hitchcock's 1960s film Psycho. And actually, the first time I ever watched this movie, I thought it was the actual Psycho music. That's how close it sounds to the Psycho theme. I was like, oh, they just like somehow like just reused the music from Psycho or something. But no, it's an original film score by Richard Band. When Re-Animator was originally released in theaters, the filmmakers did not submit it to the MPA, as I mentioned, for fear it would receive an X rating. However, this presented advertising limitations when they went to advertise the film, and a lot of media outlets would not promote unrated films, so it didn't get a lot of advertising when it came out. In early 1986, the filmmakers submitted a re-edited version of Re-Animator to the MPAA, which received an R rating. In the US, the vast majority of media releases, as I mentioned, are the unrated version. So I guess they must have released a R-rated version maybe for like a limited rerun or something, or maybe like second run movie cinemas. But as far as I know, all of the home video releases, including this one, are the unrated version with all of the stuff in it. So the critical reception for this film was great. This movie critics at the time really loved this movie. Pauline Kael and Roger Ebert both gave it glowing reviews. Pauline Kael, who was a famous movie reviewer in Hollywood in the back in the 70s and 80s, and I think even into the 90s, put this on her top 10 list of 1984. So this was in the documentary that Stuart Gordon was saying he was really surprised that happened, because he thought this was like ultra low budget. Movie critics don't usually like this kind of thing. But this surprisingly got like really good critical response. The film currently holds a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think that was based on like over 200 reviews. So it is a widely loved film by film fans, horror fans, cult movie fans, and even mainstream critics. Entertainment Weekly ranked the film 32 on its list of its top 50 cult films, and number 14 on their Cult 25, the essential left field movie hits since 1983 list. So there you go. This is If you look this up on Wikipedia or other sources, this is listed as one of the all-time best cult films of all time. So this could have been a Fright Friday review for my channel, but I had Overlord for this week, so I figured I would pop this in for Cult Movie Tuesday. My thoughts on this film, now this was only my third viewing in my life watching this movie. I feel I'll probably watch it more and more as I get older, but I love this movie. Jeffrey Combs is so like obnoxiously lovable in this movie. He just steals the show. I mean, David Gale and Abbott were also really good in this film, as well as Barbara Crampton. But for me, Jeffrey Combs just steals the show. The effects are over the top. If even like for me, and I love gore, but even I was just like, there were parts where I was just like, this is so extreme. Like, and if you think back, if you can kind of let yourself kind of go back to 1985 and imagine this on the big screen, this would have been like, I mean, Evil Dead was out, but I feel like this even almost tops Evil Dead for gore. Just entrails and limbs getting hacked off with axes and heads, you know, decapitated. David Gale's character walks around like, so he, I don't want to give away too much because he may not have seen it, but Jeffrey Combs does decapitate David Gale's character and then reanimates the head and then reanimates the body. So the body is then walking around with the head, and all of the effects are practical. Incredible practical effects. And they even, like in the documentary again, they say like some of these like these effects that they were using were like real like effects that have been used like in movies for like, you know, the last 100 years or whatever, like since the beginning of time. These were some of the like to do the effect of having the head through the chest. Like even in the documentary they show like this like fake chest with the head coming through, and then like somebody else is the arms of the body, and like it's really cool. If you love that stuff as much as I do, like you will love this movie and you will love the making of documentary. So good. Again, the music is really good. It's very reminiscent of Psycho, but I love Psycho and I love the Psycho soundtrack, so this just sucked me right in with the music. The dead cat scene, as I mentioned, is hilarious to me. I don't know if it was meant to be hilarious, but it is. If you've seen Return of the Living Dead and you remember the scene where they reanimate the split dogs, or you know the butterflies coming to life, like it has that same comedic charm, although maybe even more so in this film. If you like to see dead cats being brought back to life that have broken backs and can't move but just scream and twist around, then this is your bag. Definitely. There is another disturbing scene which involves a naked Barbara Crampton and David Gale's head, which, you know, some people might find that over the top. I can't remember where I heard that. Maybe it was on Dead Pit Radio or one of those other review channels where they were talking about like how uncomfortable Barbara Crampton must have felt in that scene. And she does talk about in a different scene where she's in bed with David Abbott, Bruce Abbott, sorry, that she was really like, that was one of the first scenes they shot, and she's surrounded by all of these dudes, the camera crew and production people, and just feeling really uncomfortable. But then when her and Bruce got together, they had such great chemistry that it kind of made her feel a bit more comfortable in the scene. But like, yeah, this was probably pretty uncomfortable for her in this movie. Is she the only woman in this? No, well, Stuart Gordon's wife is also in this movie. She plays a nurse, but or a doctor, but Barbara Crampton's the main female character in this movie. And they were saying that in a lot of the H.P. Lovecraft, and I'm not an expert in that area, but they said in a lot of Lovecraft stories, there's not a lot of women. So they did add her into this story. There is some stuff that they added to kind of make it more of a viable script. But So yeah, those are my thoughts on the film. 5 out of 5 for me all day long. I know. You're saying you always say 5 out of 5. That's not true though. I don't say that every time. I do say it a lot, and again, that's because I review a lot of movies that I just love or end up loving. So, but yeah, I couldn't not give this a 5 out of 5. It's so good. It's so fun. It's so gory. It's so 80s. It's just like, oh man. And like I said, I've only seen this about 3 times in my life, but I did watch it last night, and man, I just love this movie. This is the Arrow edition, which I actually got for a really good price. It does retail for about $42 here in Canada, which with tax is probably like $46 or something. This is in my, I'm going to do a very tiny thrifting haul tomorrow, and this will be in it. Because I did recently do a speaking engagement, which I do in my life, and I do sometimes get some honorariums. And when I get those honorariums, I usually buy things that I might have a hard time spending my own money on, or just can't part with my money to get because they're so expensive. So this was one. As soon as I got paid, I was like, okay, I'm going to buy this movie. So anyway, you'll have to tune in tomorrow to see what else I got. I didn't get a ton of stuff, just a couple of Blu-rays and a couple of DVDs, but the thrifting has been the pits lately. I have not found anything, and I mean anything, out in the wild. The closest thing I came to the other day was Great Balls of Fire on DVD, which was one that I would like to add to my collection, but I wasn't super hell-bent on buying it. So, but the thrifting lately for like the last 3 or 4 weeks has been terrible. And so my apologies for not having more content like that, because I do like doing those things. Anyway, this edition, like I said, is the Arrow release from 2018. Arrow usually does really nice editions of movies, and this has, let's see what this says here. It is a 4K restoration of the unrated version. It has isolated score, which I didn't know. I'll have to go check that out. A brand new audio commentary with director Stuart Gordon, as well as actors Graham Skipper and Jesse Merland of Re-Animator the Musical. It also has audio commentary with Stuart Gordon, audio commentary with Brian Usna, and actors Jeffrey Combs, Barbara Crampton, Bruce Abbott, and Robert Sampson. Re-Animator Resurrectus, that was the documentary I watched. It's a full-length documentary on the making of the film, which, like I said, I think that it said Anchor Bay in the credits at the beginning, so I'm assuming that was ported over to this release from Anchor Bay, which is really, really good. Highly recommend, if you love this movie, to go check it out. Anyway, there's so many other features on here. I could be another 10 minutes just talking about them, but excellent edition. This also has reversible cover art. Oops. Oh, I hope that didn't scratch. I dropped the disc. This has reversible cover art, which is, I guess, a newly commissioned piece of artwork for the film. But I which is how it came when I bought it, but I flipped it around to the old school Jeffrey Combs cover because I think it looks kind of cool. I just dropped the disc. I hope I didn't scratch it. That looks pretty good. Oh, there's one little mark there. Hopefully that doesn't affect the playback. But anyway, the disc does have a cool image on it as well. But yeah, excellent film. You can currently watch this for free on Tubi, as well as the Midnight Pulp app if you have a smart TV. You can also watch this if you have a subscription to Shudder, and you can also rent it on Apple TV. I did not check YouTube to see if this is streaming anywhere on YouTube, but highly recommend this film. Check it out if you've never seen it. It is an all-time horror 80s cult classic. I couldn't praise this movie enough. This has a runtime of 86 minutes. Beautiful. This is not rated, as I mentioned. This is a region A, B, and C, so it'll play on most players. What else? I guess that's about it. Anyway, let me know if you've seen this film. Did you love this film? Did you not like this film for some reason? I can't imagine who would not like this movie. Maybe people who are adverse to gore, but excellent movie. Highly recommend it. Seek it out if you can. It's free on Tubi, so go check it out over there if you really want to see it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Consider giving me the thumbs up if you like this review. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I think I'm closing in on about I think I'm at 273 as of recording of this video subscribers. So welcome to all my new subscribers. Thanks for joining. Tune in on Friday for my review of Overlord, which is also a pretty cool movie if you've never seen it. And you can follow me over on Instagram at Night Owl Video. Thank you for watching this review. Thank you for tuning in, subscribing, liking, commenting. And until next time, I will see you at the video store or at the thrift store or, just out and about somewhere. But until then, take good care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.